Welcome back to your 10-Minute Executive Coach. I'm Paul Burke with Business Acceleration, and this channel is dedicated to those men and women who lead. Whether you lead a small team or a global enterprise, this channel is here to provide you with some tools to help you lead better and to help your teams achieve more. We're on episode 12 today, and we're talking about communications. Some of the challenges leaders have with communications, and today we're going to stick around that 35,000, 25,000 foot discussion on communication, really getting ourselves prepared for healthy and effective communications with our teams. We'll have further episodes that dig deeper into the communication tactics and tools we can use going forward. But today, I really want to stick at a high altitude here and talk about 4 aspects or tools we need to be more effective communicators with our people. And the first part is we need clarity. The second is less fear. The third is a plan. And fourth is follow through. Keep those 4 things in mind. We'll go through each one of them. Let's talk about clarity. What do you mean? To be effective in our communications with the men and women we lead, we need to have clarity within our organization. One of the things we do at Business Acceleration with leadership teams is create that clarity for that team and their organization. And it's done by asking and answering several key questions about the organization. And we talked about this in episodes 4, 5, and 6, but just a quick review, those key questions we need to ask our clients to create clarity in the organization. Why do we do what we do? What do we do? How do we win? How do we behave as an organization? Who's going to do what? What's the structure? Who owns what? And what I love and have adapted lately since partnering as a Kappa Pro member with Patrick Lencioni in the Table Group is what's most important right now. Great question to ask and answer and clarify for a leadership team, but also for an entire organization. At times, what does screw up our communication is being over-prioritized and our people are overwhelmed. Create clarity. For our communications to be effective, we need to be creating clarity in our organization so people know where we are, where we're going, and how the heck we're going to get there at maybe a top line or midline level. Now, I know some of you are looking at this saying, but Paul, I'm not on the leadership team. I'm a director of sales in our division or wherever I may be, or a regional manager in my team. I need to be better at communicating for my team. Been there, done that. Those of us that have been in that middle management or senior management but not on the leadership team may be dealing with some confusion or lack of clarity coming from our organization. That's a critical tool you need to implement for your team, and that is create clarity for them. Sometimes as a mid-leader between the people and the senior leadership, you need to be a filter, and you need to get rid of some of that confusion so your people can focus on what they need to do and do well, especially when you're communicating. Create clarity for your team, even asking and answering those questions that involve that team. How are we going to win? How are we going to behave? What's our core values? What are our strategic anchors? How are we going to win? What is it we do? What is it we don't do? And what's most important now? Do that clarity. That is so critical for our communications to be effective. Number 2 is fear. Everybody has fear in communicating. I love public speaking. I still get scared. Talking to a camera for a YouTube channel, that's scary. Talking one-on-one with an individual is my biggest fear. I don't want to say the wrong thing, offend, keep it off, and do all these things. I have to just let that fear go. And having clarity helps. And our third step will help also, and that's planning. But we need to be able to let go of that fear and have those communications, whether it be written or oral. I'm kind of in my mind for this video I want us to think about one-on-one communications with direct reports, because that's probably the toughest one. You're going to make mistakes. It's okay. That's where you can start showing your vulnerability to your team, your honesty, and understand that I'm not perfect. I don't expect you to be perfect, but I need to communicate with you. I always loved the sayings, we always said, from the military, you have to turn into the chaos sometimes. The Navy always says, turn your ship into the wind and launch. As leaders, there's always going to be fear. That's cool. But we need to sometimes trust our knowledge, our organization, our clarity to deal with that fear. Get that out of our heads and have that communication. I had an executive who needed to really talk to one of his direct reports about a challenging behavior. The report was a good report, had done some very good work, but had some distractive behaviors that were disrupting the team. And literally was afraid to go speak to this direct report because that direct report got too emotional every time you tried to develop that talent. And just, you got to get away. Your job's got to be clear. Now we'll talk in our next step of planning, which will help alleviate some of your fear. We need to plan for our communications with our people. And planning means, why am I doing this? Who am I communicating to? What is my objective of this communication? And how am I going to communicate? Is it a memo? Is it a letter? Is it one-on-one discussion? Is it a team discussion? Or whatever it may be. Why am I doing this, and what are the results I hope to gain from this communication? If I'm having a one-on-one meeting with an individual, what am I hoping to gain from the end of this communication? This is not a significant planning session. I don't think you need to spend an hour planning a 15-minute conversation with one of your direct reports. But you need to ask yourself those questions. Why am I doing this? Who am I doing this with? What is my result? And how is best to communicate what I'm trying to do? Of course, we've got a goal. Why am I doing this? What's the best way to communicate this? Is it best done in a memo? Maybe that's the best way we communicate. Again, our visual here is the plan for a one-on-one communication. One thing I've always done for my executives I coach is I require them, after a lot of prodding and beating, is to do a one-on-one meeting with every one of their direct reports. And they come back and say, I meet with them all the time. We're always talking about that project, this game, this customer, whatever. No, a one-on-one meeting with every direct report that's about them. And you ask 3 questions. What's going on? Where are your challenges, and how can I help? And you shut up and listen. I think they're afraid to hear what you might hear. It's a great communication tool to open up, get insights from your team. Having a plan, those 3 questions, you know what you're going to ask, your answer, what's your result? Hey, I want to get feedback. I want to see where this person's challenged. I want to find out where I can help them best. Know what you're going to do. Have a plan. The last step, which is just as critical as having a plan, is having follow-up, which is probably part of your plan. Too often, I know as my career has gone, people have communicated with us on what's expected and all the cool things, the challenges that are happening on our team. I'm from the sales field, and then you never hear from them again. There's no follow-up on what they ask. Again, we talked about what's our result that we're looking for in this communication. When do you want it by, and who's going to own it? You need to have that as part of your follow-up. If I'm communicating today, I'm going to follow up in a week or 2 weeks or a month or whatever it may be. Have that specific follow-up and let the folks know when you're communicating with them, we will follow this up on this date. If it's a memo, a communication, an interweb communication in your organization, however you're going to communicate, you have to follow up. This is not master science. Again, we're sticking at the high level. There's a lot of detail within the communication, but as leaders, we need to do those 4 things. 1, create clarity in our organization or on our team. 2, get over our fear. Get over our fear of making a mistake, miscommunicating. That fear is with everybody. Acknowledge it, enjoy it, move forward. 3, have a plan. what am I going to communicate? How am I going to communicate? Who am I going to communicate to? And 4, follow up. I was always told as I grew up as a young leader, follow up or foul up. There's another word they use for that, but the reality is people will start to ignore us if we don't follow up on what we ask for during a key communication. So those 4 things, take those into your heart, practice them, and we'll follow up with further episodes that dig a little deeper on how we can communicate and written, oral, verbal, speeches, whatever it may be. But for now, those are the key messages for episode 12. Thanks for joining us, and lead well going forward. Have a great day.